It's my honor to recognize a good friend whom I have tremendous respect from the state of Florida, my friend Ron DeSantis, for such time as he may consume.
Well, I thank the gentleman from Texas. Mr. Speaker, I am struck by having been here to witness something that I think is pretty neat. We had a newly sworn-in member take the oath of office to become a member of this body, and part of it is neat because he got endorsed by Duck Dynasty, which I know a lot of people like, but it was neat because I think it reminds us what our duties are here. He was asked to take an oath of office right here in the well of the House. And that oath was very simple. It charged him with the duty to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I think we need more of a reminder that that's our duty here. I'm struck by reading the Constitution, how the Founding Fathers laid out separation of powers, checks and balances. For example, Article 1 states clearly all legislative power is vested in the Congress of the United States. Article 2 provides authority for the President and imposes a duty on him to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. And I think that going back on those constitutional foundations and looking at how this particular president has made claims of his authority to essentially put aside the law or change the law should cause us great concern. I mean, for example, with this employer mandate aspect of Obamacare, the statute said very clearly it shall take effect this January 2014. Well, that obviously would have been disastrous had they implemented that, and we in the House were willing to delay it by statute. The President chose to do it by executive fiat. And then most recently, with the idea that the Obamacare was causing people to lose their plans, a lot of people in this body said, look, we ought to grandfather all these plans in, let people keep their plans. The President threatened to veto that, and then he issues essentially an executive order saying that he's not going to enforce, or he's going to extend the grandfather clause and not enforce the Obamacare mandates that are causing the cancellation. So on the one hand, Obamacare is a holy writ that people in Congress are not allowed to touch in any way with our Article 1 power, but the President can essentially pick and choose which parts to enforce, which parts to delay, who to grant waivers to. That ultimately is not sustainable, and it conflicts with the basic structure of American government. The American Revolution, if you read the Declaration of Independence, it was a revolt against executive power and the British king. You look, Jefferson lists all the abuses that they were revolting against. One of the things that he mentioned was that King George III, that George III had done wrong, was for abolishing our most valuable laws and altering fundamentally the form of government. And students in school throughout America are taught Congress passed the law. The President, of course, can sign and veto the law. The President has a duty to enforce the law. Now, there is certainly prosecutorial discretion that comes with that. And President, if they have a good faith belief that a law is unconstitutional, of course, they got to prefer the Constitution to the statutes. But here, this President has not made any claim that Obamacare is unconstitutional. Indeed, he can't, because it's his signature piece of legislation. But I think the key thing to just think about is the Founding Fathers, they did not create separation of powers, checks and balances, because they thought that students would need something to study in civics class. They did it because ultimately that structure of government was the surest way to protect the individual liberty of the American people and to preserve and maintain the rule of law. And I think disputes that we have regarding what this particular president may do, it should not even be about him per se, because that just gets lost in partisanship back and forth. I think when we see any president taking steps that may not comport with how the structure of the government was intended to operate, we got to think about what precedent that sets, not just tomorrow, but 50 years from now. And so I've introduced a resolution that enumerates some of the instances in which the President has gone beyond using executive discretion and is essentially rewriting the law, either by failing to enforce entirely or suspending affirmatively different provisions of the law. Much has been said recently about the failure of this core promise with respect to Obamacare, that if you like your plan, you can keep it. Obviously, we're seeing that that's not true. We're going to continue to see that. People are going to lose doctors, and it really is a deception on a massive scale. So I was thinking, if you like your plan, you keep your plan. That obviously didn't work. Maybe we should just get everyone in Congress and the White House to agree with this simple proposition. If you take an oath to the Constitution, you should keep your oath to the Constitution. So I thank the gentleman from Texas. I know you'll be someone who will take that oath seriously, and I yield back to my friend from Texas.